Yeah, that game's usually. So we played, that's a regular season game. Yeah, we played them at the beginning of the season. It's kind of a tune-up game. And it's usually about 80 to 40. Good try. What's the worst you can say? Right. Well, no, I'm like, they stand down.
Yeah, for sure.
Yes, I
Well, I think we got everybody that's going to be here. We had several that had things that came up. Mayor Fouillon, Doug Christensen, Mike Dayon, and Shannon Crane. So we've got equal representation from all the major groups. I know all of you guys. I'm Rick Adams, Director of Development, your staff liaison, along with my planning assistant, Nicole, my senior code enforcement, Carla. So we're, like I said, we're here basically to facilitate, kind of assist, and get things started. But this is, this was something the council asked, and I think a lot of people represented agreed. So it's all about solutions. And so rather than start with a blank page, we just kind of created an agenda for today. And the intention for today is simply for introductions, to identify a chairman among the committee itself. Let me talk about the committee itself. Again, to start, and like I said, this is your meeting, so staff will support you however we need to. But I can tell you with lots of experience facilitating meetings and as a liaison, the staff liaison to big groups, small groups. To get anything accomplished, you really need a manageable number of people. And I think everybody in the community probably has something to say about short-term rentals. How you decide to handle that is certainly your prerogative. But like I said, I just would caution you not to get too bogged down and hearing a lot of the anecdotal stuff. I think we know some of that. Like I said, how you decide to handle that is up to you. But again, the goal is to come out with some positive solutions to, I think, issues that my guess is that we all know are out there. So I think we have a pretty good starting point. So that was kind of the idea behind the meeting today. Staff, again, is a starting point. We kind of thought that topic-based groups, subgroups among the big committee would be a good way to handle it. We just kind of talked about what we've heard over the last few years as far as our big topics, which is occupancy, parking, and then the nuisances, trash, and everything else is a nuisance we lumped under that. So those are the three big headings. If there's others, so be it. Like I said, we just wanted to give you something that wasn't a blank page to start with. As an ad hoc committee, if you chose, and we encourage you to look at the idea of breaking up into subgroups during informal meetings to talk about these topics and bring solutions back to the group as a whole for further discussion. Those isn't an open meeting. You guys can do it over an adult beverage, a Coke, lunch, whatever you want, over the phone. We think that might be another good way to handle the topic discussions within themselves. So that's like I said, that's the idea for the meeting today, is for everybody to introduce themselves, let those from the public that did decide to show up, know who's here, and then you give us direction how you want to proceed. Like I said, after today, we knew that we weren't, like I said, we scheduled this intentionally before planning and zoning because a lot of you guys overlap and we're going to be here. Like I said, so it wasn't intended to be a lengthy meeting. Really wasn't intended to be a meeting where we started on the solutions, but just how we were going to proceed, what the procedures were going to be, how you wanted us, to facilitate this arrangement for you and where we went from here. So with that, like I said, we probably I would just start with, like I said, everybody going around and introducing yourselves, who you're representing. I think most people know you guys are all pretty notorious. Infamous, but introduce yourselves, and then, like I said, and then I think it best that there be a chairman amongst yourselves. Now you got several that are absent. They're easy pickings, but however you want to do that, like I said, and again, the group is how we started. If you direct staff to add more, that's fine. So with that, I'm going to shut up. This is y'all's meeting, so we'll start with introduction.
Tim Park, City Council.
Joellen Kruger, and I'm here to find a solution to all these issues.
Barney Foray, represent myself and P&Z.
Steve DeWitt, I'm with Life in Paradise Vacation Rentals.
Audrey Hall, I'm with Sand Key Realty, we're a real estate brokerage and vacation rental management company.
Craig Scott, P&Z.
Arlo Van Zant, code enforcement.
Rick. So absent today that was that had agreed to serve on the committee, just so you know, Mayor Booyah is not feeling well. Shanna Crane is Silver Sands. Property management, Dale Christensen is trade winds, and then Mike Dayon is was travel delayed, and he serves on P&Z. So those were the ones that were absent. It's important, I think, to accomplish what we want to accomplish and get to these solutions that we have a good, robust committee discussion. So, like I said, if we need all the representation. So if these folks can't, like I said, if they just find it's going to be too busy, then we'll suggest that you guys maybe consider replacing them. But like I said, they all contacted us, and they all had issues. So with that, Art, like I said, here's the outline. You can take it or leave it. Like I said, we thought it would probably be best for you guys to elect a chairman and just kind of the point of contact. So with that, what do y'all think?
Is anyone willing to be the chairman?
Is it really just to,
Facilitate the meetings.
yeah,
And give direction so there's not 50 people talking.
I'll do it. I don't mind.
Like I said, and then that just kind of becomes a point of contact, and it all ultimately, the stuff will feed through you and us. We'll all have this kind of dialogue. So, yes, so you can. Thanks. So those were the big topics I mentioned earlier. So we thought that we talked about this a lot of how best we could kind of chip away at it. We just figured the hot topics that seem to come up recurrently. So what do you guys think? I mean, is that
Realistic, as we discussed. How you lump them. I mean, that's.
And do you think a topic-based format? We couldn't think of a better one to do it.
My opinion is yes, divide it into 3 groups and try to spread out as even as possible. With at least one person from each group represented. That's my opinion. But
Yeah, I think that's a good way to do it.
Any subtopics within those big overlying ones, parking, occupancy, trash, and the trash nuisance?
on nuisance, it's right, the third one.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, it's not-
trash was kind of was a big one, but there is some issues with sound and noise, and rare instances, lighting. Again, as it pertains to short-term rentals. A lot of these, are common among non-short-term rentals sometimes too. But again, we're focusing on, just kind of like I said, on short-term rentals. And if we come up with solutions that, that are, again, I'm a firm believer that everything needs to be applied equally. The long-term resident, if I'm too loud and light crash, I should be subject to the same rules as anyone else. So like I said, I think that'll be a, kind of another benefit is that everybody we don't, standard, there should be anyway.
We talked about splitting into like committees.
Well, right. In other words, so the idea is that we think these solutions and decisions should be made as a group because you've got council, you got P&Z, you got the rental agencies, that are all represented that feed into it. So, but to get work done on these different topics, to bring stuff to the greater committee, I'll call it. We just kind of thought that it'd be good to break out offline and talk about these things and then bring it back and then, and then just do it at the full meeting, everybody, kind of report, some of their thoughts. And then others will have their thoughts and you'll kind of pollinate, hopefully the best ideas will come from that. So that was our thought behind it.
You think maybe two groups, because it's not a huge group, maybe just two groups. And I think what you're gonna find is there's no sides. I think we all are in agreement of these particular rules and problems. And I think maybe the solutions might be slightly different, but I think you're gonna find that
So what,
both sides are looking for a solution.
so what two, how would you divide up?
I don't think you have to totally divide.
So each group just takes and discusses each of those?
Yeah, I think so, because I really think knowing some of the people that are in the property management side, we're in agreement with about half the things that are
Right.
said, and we're looking for solutions, and we're looking for enforcement, and we're looking for answers to make Port Aransas a better place to be and to vacation, because we've talked about it many times, the vacationers that are coming here, that are doing the right things, they're being affected as much as local residents. And so it's a huge problem for a few bad apples. And I think what we've got to do is find the players. We don't know who they are. We can't control them as they come in and out. But I think what we're looking to do is set a new culture. I think that's what in Port Aransas, and I've mentioned this several times, is, and I've only been here 9-10 years. My mom was here for 30 years doing this, and and I think John Christensen mentioned at one time in a meeting that we were begging people to come across that ferry and come spend time with us, in the winter time or really anytime, come spend time. And I think we've lost sight that, oops, the cat's out of the bag. They're here. So, and we've been so tourist friendly. And I don't know if you want to call it friendly, but we haven't held them to a very high regard. And I still say that the stimulus money that has been injected into the system injected a different class of people into our society. I was talking to Tommy with Treasure Island today, and we were just BSing. And I said, had any big fights or any, in a bar? You ask those questions. He said that in May and April, when we were at the height of the stimulus money, he said it was brutal. And we saw the same things. And I think we all as residents of Port A saw those exact same things. So I just think we're needing to set a new culture and put some rules in place that are enforced. I think that's what really needs to be done.
Well, and I noticed there's some chamber representation here.
Yeah.
And I'm glad to see that because again, I've always thought that, perhaps citywide, we could do a better job of just advertising things to our friends to the north, such as don't bring 8 cars, and whatever solutions we get to that make it very difficult if that's where we go and not doing that. But the message, we need to re-educate, again, my opinion is we've just allowed anything goes. And I think it's just a critical mass. And I think the chamber can maybe help us at some point. We could, we'll have those discussions getting that message out to our friends. So just so I'm clear though, excuse me, Barney, so you're talking about still smaller subgroups, but each of the subgroups just hit all the big topics.
Sure.
And then bring those back.
I think is as a group, if everybody understands that, and I can't speak for Shayna, or I can probably for Dale, Dale and I've talked about this stuff all the time. He's kind of in the same realm with Audrey. We talked about this, and we're wanting some of these same things. That's just reality. And we just kind of, I think over the years felt that it all kind of pushed back to us, and we felt like we were the scapegoat but believe me, the last thing we want is over occupancy, cars, parked on top of each other, all those things that happen. But it just turns out that way, that we have to try to manage those shark infested waters.
I think when we hire that company, it should be by the first of the year, correct? That will help find some of the people.
It will, but it won't be the magic bullet. Well, I mean, it'll help with compliance and the ones that are under the radar and the ones that aren't paying motel tax. But it still doesn't solve the occupancy and the
Well,
park.
we have another code enforcement kind of race.
Got a position posted. We just, one of our actual permit technicians, I've cross-trained. She just finished her code 1, I guess, which is basic, which, again, I don't think you got into the weeds. It will help her take some of the administrative load off Carla. She can take care of weed lot and the other stuff.
No, yeah.
And I'm kind of looking to Carla to head up the short-term rental part, at least until we can round that curve. That's fine. I mean, I like I said, whatever your pleasure is. Like I said, I just think smaller groups meeting offline in a non-public forum, can just get a lot of comments and bring back to the other.
I think 5 and 5 is a good number.
So we need to be careful about not having the group be a quorum.
So we tend to split city council members up,
Well, not that, we just have to have, I think,
even,
3 smaller, 3.
Yeah,
I got you.
To keep it, to
Yeah.
keep each group from not having. a quorum.
That makes sense.
Because we'd like that, and again, our goal originally was, we wanted 3 council, 3 P and Z, and we wanted property management representation for big, medium, and small. I mean, that was our goal. So that, and that membership can, like I said, depending on how long, how long it takes you to fix all this. Those people can, you can rotate them in and out, and like I said, there's no hard and fast. I don't have a handle on how best. Like I said, I'm kind of in uncharted territory, just kind of based on previous meetings and solution-based efforts like this. So let's start with our highest elected leaders, the council. Do you have a preference as to what topic?
Well,
Oh, I'm sorry,
Yeah,
that's
we're
right.
just,
Okay.
so really, we just need to break it into
yeah, so just some,
the 3 groups.
I think just break it up as evenly as possible and go from there.
Yeah. So since it's all the topics, we'll let staff we'll make sure that those that aren't in attendance are going to in the future.
And if not, then we need to know when. I
Maybe
guess,
we'll pick some,
Yeah, pick some alternatives.
pick some
There
alternatives.
can be some suggestions from the group too.
And I mean, I think there's a concern that in your smaller groups, you could invite more people to meet with.
I
you.
think that,
That's
yeah,
probably,
because I think we need to get some members of the general public that have nothing to do. Maybe each group should have at least one person from the general public that doesn't have anything to do with rentals or P and Z, just to put it,
Sure. So
because they're gonna have other thoughts that we maybe aren't thinking of.
So perfect segue into, kind of the other topic, the format for procedures in future meetings. I had several people that had reached out and was very interested in serving on the committee, and I just told them at this point, we were going to have this introductory initial meeting to kind of determine those things. So what is your thought about, and let's talk first about the bigger meetings like this. Do you want to have a comment period?
I think that would be advisable.
I think that probably and again, I'm like I said, I'm not going to count this. We'll say our next meeting will be the first meeting. I think you'll probably have a greater number of those comments, and then I think it'll.
Just do the normal 3 minutes, per person. Just keep it in line with city council. public that's invited, and I think it should be right at the beginning, not per topic as we're going through, so.
And for people that, like you said, in the smaller groups that have an interest in serving in the smaller groups or talking, would we ask that they reach out to you individually? You want them to just send us an email and we'll forward you those that are
I
interested
would say
to the
that's
whole
fine.
group?
Just send it to you, and then you can kind of say, okay,
We'll forward it to the entire group saying these people have expressed an interest and y'all can, pick and choose or divide them up as to how you'd like. So again, for those that are here that have an interest, like I said, send it to me or Nicole, Carl, any of us.
I've got a sheet here, if you guys want to sign. before
Yeah.
we leave, that might be-
Yeah, just email.
I did.
Okay.
I just
Um,
emailed you.
Yeah, so, so just, like I said, just make sure you got a legible email and like I said, we'll forward it to the different group. And, like I said, if you're interested, like I said, that's fine, we'll do that.
Do we need to work on the format of the meeting? We need to produce stuff. We were talking about how to format the meeting.
No, I mean, we just want, staff will do that. I mean, we'll take care of all the
Yeah.
logistics. You just tell us how, again, so for the next agenda, we'll have a public comment period. It's not exactly like a council meeting. There shouldn't be any public hearing, anything like that, but there'll be a public comment period. And we'll just, like I said, we'll just put that on the agenda. That'll start things off. And,
Yeah, 3 minutes, that's a chance to give a broad look at everything.
Yeah.
First bullet.
So it is like a public comment in any other meeting. We'll just include that in the format of the
Also,
meeting.
I'm curious, why is this subject to the quorum rule?
Well, anytime there's more than the majority of council or planning and zoning, it's.
But don't we only have 3 each?
But if they're all, right,
Yeah, but this is handled kind of like an open meeting, so you don't want any quorum of this group to meet separately. Because these meetings are held in an open.
yeah,
forum.
this is posted, but if there's 3 get close to a non-posted meeting, in other words, the meeting that you guys have outside of this one, it's not a posted meeting.
But if yeah. So open meetings have to be open to the general public. Anytime you've got a quorum of any one group together, if you've got a quorum of some council, they can't just all around it together and discuss business. That's a meeting that's closed to the public. So you want to keep everything open to the public.
It wouldn't be an issue with P&Z, it would be an issue with council right now.
After this meeting. Quorum of this group.
It's not a three.
It's over half of whatever.
Yeah.
Well, not here.
Here.
How many people were part of this group?
So right now, right now, there's 6 of you. Altogether, we invited 10.
Yeah.
So we
So
could
as long
have
as
more, like 5 would be,
Yeah, but we don't want to stretch that either.
right.
So 3, I think is.
Yeah, just 3. We'll send out a like I said, we'll, one council group, one council member for each, and we'll include P&Z. So there'll be one extra management to begin with. But I think Dale is actually getting out of business, so I don't know that he'll stay on. He did agree to serve, but he just did that. But he'll be very vocal, has, the small.
I think
so-
he's very interested in as well.
Okay, so we'll keep him on there. We'll just plug him in. There'll be a couple of you guys. All right, anything else on format procedures, anything you want? Carla printed out anticipating that we'd all be kind of in agreement of at least the big topics, not that anything's off the table. But again, occupancy, parking, and then the
Sanitation.
trash and nuisances. So she printed out, again, parking is in a separate section of the zoning ordinance, chapter 25. So she's got that. Short-term rentals, of course, is its own article under chapter 12. And then health and sanitation, chapter 9. So she printed out those ordinances just so you guys can take with you and have, because that, like I said, they have a lot of a lot of good information. The short-term rental ordinance did reference adherence to everything else, including those. So like I said, we did cover that in the short-term rental. But this breaks it out as to what that was.
So Rick, can we get some data surrounding these topics, like what
I think
I mean,
that's really important to know what the
formal
real
complaints that you've received from the city?
issues are that you guys keep
citations?
hearing. I mean,
All I
obviously,
hear a lot of anecdotal
Yeah.
things that just are irritants, but it'd be nice to see, you know, what is the impact, and what's the scope of this problem? And what is the impact of this? And is it citywide? Is it certain areas? Just if somehow to scope this a little bit better, because one solution may be surgical versus a broad brush solution that would impact the whole city, maybe in a negative way.
Okay. We'll see-
Any
we'll
kind
see
of
what
data
that-
would be useful.
Most of what we get are complaint, it's complaint driven. So Carl, is that something you think you can pull together something?
Yeah, a lot of people have started using the online
Mhm.
system, so that'll help. And whereas Britain can track the citations that have been written for
That'd
them.
be useful.
Yeah, we'll, like I said, we won't have a lot of data, but I think we'll have some that'll help get you started.
When the property management companies may have some information.
what I'm just curious about, when you say citations are written, is it citations to just owners and property managers, or who is getting citations? Are the guests at all, the tourists at all?
Mostly owners and
accountable?
property managers. It's been
The property owner is responsible for the problem.
always responsible. And sometimes, like I said, if it's, you know, our approach has been property, if it's a managed property, then we'll hit both property owner and property manager.
And I feel like all of these topics that we're going to discuss really all fall under, I mean, issues of parking, issues with occupancy, noise, trash. If those things aren't enforced, then those things are still going to continue to happen. I have on every single listing on my website how many cars can be parked there. I over and over again, I tell my people, and they do what they want to do. And it feels like the council and some other people expect that as property managers, we should be there 24/7 at every single property the whole night to catch every single infraction that
And that's
occurs.
why
And
we,
it's
that's
just,
why we hired a,
Yeah.
code enforcement officer. That was one of the first things we did.
I just don't,
But out of 3,500
Yeah.
growing, 3,500 plus growing short-term rentals,
that's not
we
gonna.
just will
make
never
a
be
difference.
everywhere. So I think part of it is looking for ways that you guys can better,
I
you know,
think
again, if
enforcement
you share
is
best
bottom line.
practices.
There's
Yeah,
gotta be ramifications
Well,
and what as I mentioned earlier, I think what's happened is we get the blame, but we really don't have a whole lot of say so. I mean, we can go out and put our life on the line dealing with drunk customers, which everybody goes, well, that's your responsibility. Well, it becomes a community responsibility because it's a culture that has been bred over a number of years. And we've got to find a way to hold those people accountable. People got to be held accountable. That's the problem with the world today. Nobody wants to be accountable for what their own actions are. So it really shouldn't always fall back on owners or management company. We need something to take a look at and say, hey, these people are grown-ups. They're adults. There's laws, there's rules. But as I mentioned before, these laws and these rules and these things, we put them on our stuff, but you can't find them on chamber. Good luck finding them on our city website. You better dig pretty deep to find these things. That stuff needs to be out front, and there needs to be ramifications, just like we put on golf carts. You flip a golf cart, get ready, that's $1,500 minimum. And if you over occupancy, it ought to be $300 per breathing person. There should be ramifications to
but
this.
you understand,
Yeah,
But who's
That
gonna
is-
enforce?
yeah.
well, but, so you're arguing about the citations, but that is
Yes.
our primary enforcement mechanism. We can't beat people. So citations is our major enforcement. And
Yeah, but your thought process is citing the owners, and of course, the owners, all they say is rent the stuff for us. And then it really falls back on us. And
we'll gladly just,
Yeah.
we'll gladly try to up the fines and just, I mean, that's the solution we're looking for.
Right.
If you say up the fines and cite the owners, where do you think the owners are gonna go back
It
to?
doesn't,
it's not gonna solve the problem.
it's not,
What important,
because the behavior is
Yeah.
the
So
The
what
customer.
enforcement, that's other than an injunction and getting into court, our first line of defense is a citation. That punitive measure typically is designed to change behavior, but you're saying, don't cite us. just
No,
enforce it.
that's not what I'm saying. And I think we're on the same page here, is that we want to be equally responsible. But in these situations, you get a crowd problem, and, used to, I'd go out there and put the crazy white man on them, and it worked a lot of times. But nowadays,
Yes.
who's carrying a pistol? Who's doing what? And so we
Our
defer-
code enforcement officers aren't.
Well,
I can tell you that.
we call the police to go out, and it doesn't seem like our police department has done what they've done for many years, and that's kind of, oh, they're a tourist. Let's slap them on the hand and tell them, but they're not going to follow those rules. So we need something, and if you look across the country at other cities, towns that have the same type of issues, they have a little different process where they go after the tourists because they're the ones that are causing problems, not following the rules. Now, if we're not putting out the trash cans and we're not following those rules, all means that falls on us. Definitely does. But when it comes
We'd
to,
rather do those. than-
yeah,
So Steve,
yes,
so when you check in the people come and stay at the house or condo or whatever, do you know how many people are checking in right then? I mean, are they just show up later, the family's gonna come later? Do
You know-
know how many people are supposed to be in there?
I think everybody has switched over to online checking.
Yeah.
And so-
Especially with COVID.
With COVID, you had to, and so what we do as a company, which is probably similar to everybody else, we start sending text messages, and some of those text messages are pretty pointed. This unit has a max occupancy of this, and that's one of the areas where the culture needs to be changed, because it's no longer, the city would say, oh, 12 and under. We always said if it's an infant slept in the parent's bedroom, didn't count. Well,
Right.
today, if they're breathing, they count. And so we're going in and having to readjust that, because we have a lot of people go, hey, it's not, it's a child, it doesn't count. No, they all count.
Yeah.
And so there's things that have to change, and those rules are really not anywhere to be seen.
So that's what we're looking for. So as Councilman Park mentioned, we'll have another code enforcement officer, which means that they're going to be more vigilant, and whatever direction we're given, if it's quit citing the property manager, cite the owners. Citations still remain our first line of defense, and there's just going to be more of them. Who we write them to, we'll take direction. Ultimately, council.
Has a tourist ever,
Yeah.
has a tourist ever been cited for noise? Has a
Yeah.
tourist?
That's a police.
I mean, I just,
That's a police matter.
yeah, but again, I'm just curious if we could get those numbers to say, because I called this year, I can't tell you how many times I called on complexes maybe that I managed or whatever, because my wife just pointedly said, you're not going out there. And they're, I'll go look and I see that they're intoxicated and see that it's not a good environment. I'll make the phone call. I don't call 911. I just call the police number and tell them who I am, what I got going on. They show up. But I think it becomes a point that if all these rules are steadfast, they're written down, they're everywhere, and you come to Port A and you want to break these rules, there's no exceptions. You get the ticket. If you go out here and catch more redfish than you're supposed to catch, I mean, it's in a book. You read the book supposedly. You got the book when you got the license. But you think the game warden is going to pull you over and go, oh, look at this. We got a little short redfish here. We got 2 extra. He's not going to go, next time you're a tourist, don't worry about it. That's what I'm talking about.
And that's what we're looking for.
Sure.
And like I said, if there's issues with police, then that's why we have council representation.
I would never say there's issue with police. I just say it's.
No, I
something-
mean, but
Yeah.
if there's a better way that the group feels,
Yep.
then you will have council hearing that.
Sure.
And if they feel that there's changes that need to be merited, they'll pass it on to the city manager, and process evolves.
Sure.
But those are the, like I said, but I can tell you that our, when you say, more enforcement, that's coming. But our enforcement, keep in mind, is that book that, Carla and her contemporaries are gonna have, and they're gonna be writing. But at the end of the day, it's about compliance. We constantly hear, well, all the tickets you're writing, you can hire the people. That's not how it works. And yeah, the fines go into the, whatever fund it goes into, general fund. But our goal is compliance. And again, it's that putative monetary, hit that ultimately brings people full circle.
It just feels like
We're
we're
the-
the ones that are getting punished when we're not the ones with the bad behavior.
You're not gonna fix the behavior by sending us a ticket. We're gonna add another fee in there that says, okay, that's gonna cover our fees for this year for our bad guests.
But I think we're trying to incentivize you guys to take a bigger responsibility in that enforcement. You're the first step of enforcement, and we're the second.
Yeah,
I mean,
I hear what you're saying.
you're checking people in, and I get COVID has disrupted the world
Yeah.
in countless ways.
Have you guys ever been a teacher? I was a teacher for 7 years, and I could tell my students I was blue in the face about all the things I wanted them to do. And when I'm not paying attention, they're gonna misbehave and do the things I told them not to
And
do.
what are you gonna do? You're gonna send her to the principal.
You
To
guys
the
have-
kid, I'm not the one being punished for their bad behavior. The kid is being punished. Well, not anymore in
So you
today's
guys
world.
have a bigger stick than we do. We can't kick people out of the house. You guys.
But again, that could be the direction that
So-
ultimately comes about. That
I mean,
if
what
you're
Nicole's
saying,
saying-
the tourist responsible,
Yeah,
and we found a property and we get to where we have the personnel, we can say, you're over occupied, vacate.
Yes.
You violated the terms. I mean, that,
so
I'm
I
just saying
guess
that may be,
Nicole says,
we don't know
y'all
where.
can't do it. My question is, why not? I mean, if that's a fire code or a city ordinance and they're violating that city ordinance,
If you have the occupancy max and we have to have it on the sign, and you get called there and they have more people, then why can't you tell them they have to leave?
because typically your parking problem is related to an occupancy problem.
Completely.
And you know as well as I do, I can't walk up to the door and go, yeah, look at those cars. Let me just get everybody outside and line them up. That's not gonna happen. And so we've got to work together to try to figure out the solution to that. But I think and this is one area where I think that we're totally talking apples and oranges. Your group wants to go after the owners and the owners can be responsible. But the other thing you're thinking about too is, and I think I mentioned this before, less than 1,700 of that 3,000 are managed by a management company that is a local company. That's another dynamic that really needs to be looked at and to understand that.
Well, in a short time, the third-party compliance company, one of their primary functions is the data gathering.
Right.
They're, like I said, with their ability to scrub all the sites, we'll have a good handle on where all of our rentals are, which we've never been able to.
Right.
How many do we have registered now?
I don't know.
Approaching 2,000? Approaching 2,000.
It's the management companies that try to do the right thing that are the ones that are registered. And that's what we've always have said. And so, again, I think we need to take a look at, and I hope this group, this committee can figure out that we're wanting to help with the problem, but we can't take the full responsibility, because just like I said, I'll add a fee in there that says misbehaving fee. So if we get a fine for someone, yes,
I like
misbehave. But again,
Better than
it's
the
not
citation.
it's not gonna fix what over 20+ years was created.
I can
And
tell
all
you
they have to
personally,
do is
what-
dispute their credit cards.
Yeah.
And then you,
personally,
then we.
what I, in the back of my mind, had hoped would ultimately come out of this is better ways that the property managers amongst themselves could help us manage this. Sure. Before it's rammed down.
They
Before it's
know more
rammed down.
about it than anyone else.
Yeah, so I know what you're saying,
Listen, so
but with all respect, Steve, you're the manager, and a manager needs to be responsible for what they're managing. And if there's so many properties that you can't ensure that the 12 people that you book are not 14 or 15, somewhere in the middle, I think there's just gonna have to be, I know what you're saying, but I also look at it as a manager, you gotta manage, and so that's why our approach has been not managing, we're gonna hit you, and we're gonna hit the property owner that's.
Yeah, but the city's not taking any responsibility is my problem. And I'll just be pointed and tell you, it's ridiculous that we have a chamber website that says, come on, everybody come to party, come listen to music, come do whatever. There's no rules. That's what I'm saying.
They're hearing you. I think they're
And,
hearing you.
and I think
Oh,
it's.
there's plenty of people arrested for
yeah.
PI, drunken disorderly fighting. We arrest people every weekend.
Oh, I get to see them come out of jail every Saturday
Yeah.
morning. It's pretty in their orange jumpsuits. It's pretty interesting, but
Sometimes it's early.
So
but those are people that probably aren't in a vacation rental, because what I see is they head over to Stripes, they get on the phone, so they get back across the other side of the ferry. So those are a lot of day trippers that come in here to party, and not so much vacation. rental.
So can I ask you something?
Sure.
So before COVID, did you check your people in? Did they come check in? I mean.
We
so
were a
you
lot
had your eyes
smaller.
on them? I
We were a
mean,
lot smaller, and we weren't
so-
sitting around the ferry where people can't get in.
No, I understand that.
But still, you would have one person come into your office and check in, you
Right.
know, maybe the people, the name of the reservation's on, and then their sister and brother and kids are coming down later that night. You can't get them all in the office at one time
But you
to
can see
verify.
that if they're 21 or 20.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
we check the IDs.
Yeah.
We verify IDs en
Mhm.
route.
Well, like I said, we wanted that,
Sure.
we wanted to leave 15 minutes before the,
Yeah.
next week. So, but these are the things that we've got to figure out, you know, where that balance is.
Because condos and hotels, you know, everybody comes in, checks in. So for the houses on.
No, they
stilts
don't.
or condos.
They go,
Not
one person
anymore.
goes to the
Not a
desk.
hotel.
Not anymore.
You just
Yeah.
go get your key and
Oh,
drag them
wow.
out of the car. There's also a lot of police actions at hotels too in town.
Yeah.
Lots of noise complaints, lots of police action.
Right, right.
So I think what we do is go ahead and at least plan the next.
And you get into the meat of it, like I said.
Yeah.
No,
I
mean, it's
agree.
all good stuff, you know.
Yeah.
And we take our directions from him, who takes it from them. And so, like I said, the idea is to see if there's solutions before you put council in a position of making it for you. I mean, I think that was our goal.
Yeah, no. we
Let's come to
agree.
this mutually if we
Yep.
can. And there's a lot of work to do. I mean, it's obvious by the discussion, there's a lot of work to do.
So I think let's go ahead and wrap this up here. We have Sand Fest coming up here, so that's a big weekend for everyone. So I'm thinking the next meeting where we use a big group should be probably the end of October. Because that'll give us some time to hopefully meet the individual, the smaller groups too, what everyone's thought, and that's just my thought.
You say the end,
That's good.
End of October.
So again, just as a reference, P and Z meets the last Tuesday of October routinely, and so that's where this fell.
That's the 26th.
Yeah, I mean, that's.
Is that okay with the P and Z members to have such a long
Yes.
afternoon?
I think they said to get long on.
So I think we should have a plan for that.
Okay.
And then.
We'll send.
The same time is good.
Yes.
Yeah, because I think each subgroup, the three subgroups are met by that point, or we make that a requirement. You'd have to have met by, you know, and at least one subgroup meeting before that.
And I think the time is nice because a lot of people are still at work. It could break away, you know, at 5 and after, a lot of times you have to be home with the kids and it's hard to attend. And I know there's a lot of the public that would like to comment. So at least for this.
Yeah, it started 3:30.
Maybe let's do three,
Great, huh?
if we're gonna allow public comments.
Yeah. it's a good idea.
Because that could, you know, take up a chunk of it, so I think three, unless anyone else has thoughts. Steve?
No, that sounds good. to me.
Which houses do you have?
We have about 110 between
Okay.
short and long term.
What do you guys think?
310,
How many?
310.
So the dance is at 3:30.
We have a lot of smaller stuff. but-
Well, and here's, and you kind of touched on it, Steve. So the unrepresented group is gonna be those that sell. that sell.
And there's more and more of those coming around. And these new owners in this last wave of purchases, we have seen a lot of them say, well, a lot, I I can make this happen. Well, good luck.
The Airbnb crowd is, they rent Airbnbs and now they want to buy one and they want to manage it themselves. They don't want to pay the company, which I don't think an owner's right to do what they want.
Yeah,
for sure.
self-managed is
Taking
two
away.
different categories of people, though. One lives here, and one lives out of town and tries to self-manage.
There's a difference,
That's a
definitely.
big difference.
But I have a feeling in the course of your discussions, those issues are gonna come out.
Yeah.
And like I said, that, the rules are the rules. So they'll, obviously, once we're given them, they'll be applied equally. And if that's a more difficult situation for those that self-manage, so be it. They either continue in a more difficult environment or make some adjustments. So, well, cool. Well, I mean, we really are kind of excited about the prospect of coming up with some solutions. Obviously, it's been a contentious topic. It's been a busy summer. Clearly, probably, well, I think busiest we've ever seen by the numbers that we've seen so far. Hopefully we can get this stuff worked out. So those that are here in the public, sorry that we didn't really put on the agenda any conversation, but get with me and we'll like I said, we'll forward the list on, and like I said, as soon as we adjourn, you guys are welcome to have at it. But please sign up, or like I said, or just send Nicole or Carla or I an email, and we'll forward it on if you have an interest. If you have a topic interest, put it down as well, just so that we'll know kind of where the interests lie.
So I think, Rick, if you just want to divide up the groups evenly yourself, or you and Nicole, I think
Yeah.
that way it's arbitrary, and, no one,
Yeah,
we're
it's,
not picking favorites or stuff like that.
we'll just
I
kind
mean,
of.
if that's okay with.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Alright.
You got it. Well, thanks. Like I said, we'll get with these, and if there's gonna be an issue in the future, we'll just replace them. Steve, if you have any other contemporaries, just so that we have some others that we might consider.
Okay.
I think if it's weighted, since you guys aren't an elected or appointed group, I don't think, although it needs to be manageable, but I think, even a couple more property management groups or companies or representation that you have probably wouldn't be a bad idea. So like I said, just get with us offline and give our suggestions. And to me, that representation is probably the most important right now. You guys have the most
I have a
understanding.
suggestion for a topic, for one of our topics. This comes up frequently, both of these come up frequently, I mean, enforcement and coming up for a long time, and all we really need is enforcement. Obviously, it's a tough thing. But the actual figures, is it gonna be impossible to figure out how many units we're talking about? Because there's different varying reasons to know, what the population of the short-term rentals.
Yeah, that's what I mentioned. That's one of the primary benefits of this third-party company, them being able to give us a good idea. That's what they're gonna do. Their database management companies, all of them, they share that. That's their primary function. So they have the ability to go to the VRBOs and the locally owned platform and scrub the data. In other words, they can find out and
That's
tell
right.
us.
Okay, so that's gonna be.
That's one of the
Produce
huge
some
things.
real data about it.
Yeah, is them not letting us know exactly how many we've got. And with that, that will tell us how many, are kind of flying under the radar with us.
It'll also tell you which ones are part-time rented and not full-time rented. So there are a lot of great.
There'll be a lot of data that, right. They
Some of the
can,
things we're subscribing to show that full balance.
yeah. So, yeah, we can disaggregate the data. So like, I said, they're pretty, that's been one of the primary focuses that Carla, Nicole, and Darla, who's our finance director, have keyed in on, is the amount of data that's beneficial to us for that very reason, Barney, so we know who's local, who's running local, who's out of town, where the ownership is. So,
About enforcement, is it really that impossible to come up with some, we mandating ourselves to come up with an enforcement solution?
I think that's gonna what these individual groups are
Yeah,
gonna
don't-
discuss.
yeah, I mean, I don't want you to think that there's not enforcement. How many tickets you're gonna take, Carla?
A lot.
Close to 300?
Most of those tickets are Monday through Friday. 8 to 5.
Right, after that, usually it's a rest.
Yeah.
But
The action happens on Friday and Saturday night, believe me.
yeah, it's not for a lack of enforcement, Marty, it's just the magnitude, it's exponential during the summer months, on top of staying ahead of weedy lots and other items that are major important to someone else. So it's, like I said, so we're getting there. It's,
Right, well, I understand, you know, let's just say that we don't have enough enforcement people to cover the whole thing. But every time it comes up to now, anyway, it's keep down the road.
well, it's not, that's what I'm saying, is
And
that
that's one of
we're enforcing, and I know that as some of the council people have been around and actually with us in the office, they see how long one single issue actually takes us. And so it's not, we're not, 300 tickets means probably 600 letters before that. Couple phone calls on each of those. So it's time consuming, and you can say just go hire a code enforcement officer, but hiring somebody, any position in the city, for Port Aransas down here at the end of the road is difficult. Our applicant pool sometimes pretty darn shallow. So, like I said, that doesn't mean we don't try, but like I said, the job's been posted now for, I don't know how many applicants we've had, but for a couple weeks. Yeah. So, like I said, it's just, it's easy to say go hire somebody, but they gotta come.
What if we hired enough, how many would that be?
As much as you want to give us money, and then in addition to the city hall for the space.
There's a lot to it, Barney,
Yeah,
unfortunately.
so we've got, like I said, we've got another full-time position posted. I've cross-trained one of my permit people, kind of like these guys started out, so they can handle something, legitimately.
So just one more thing, just know that, would they pay for themselves? Fines
Yeah, but that's not how a municipality looks at it.
and that's.
Yeah, I mean, you could say that, but we don't want to, that incentivizes somebody to go write fines to pay their
Yeah,
salary, and that's the bad way of looking
I
at
don't mean like
it.
that. I don't mean like a contract.
No.
Paid by the hour.
Yeah, so I mean, it's a dangerous path to even analyze it that way. We look for compliance, not for the financial involved. Yeah, so I mean, it's like saying golf carts. Yeah, you can go out and write golf cart tickets nonstop and pay for that one golf cart person. But that's just, like I said, as I've come to learn, that's not the right way a city wants to conduct business. We just want compliance. We just want people to behave. Welcome to the city, but behave like you're a neighbor. That's
So
kind of-
ignoring it, does that make it go away?
No, we don't ignore you. You got finished
No,
talking.
I hear what you say, but
You just got finished.
I'm
talking.
like
You don't
everybody
ignore it.
else.
You just don't like getting the.
I'm just
you don't like
saying,
getting the stick.
you saw the news article where Brenda and Mr. Burrows was involved in that article. And that was one of the things that guy that shot that whole article, he goes, which sign are you talking about that tells me I can't get on this road? And Brenda was with him in one of our cars. He says, that sign, that's right there. And I know Tanzer and I have said, man, why don't we just see if we can't buy the biggest digital sign with a big wrecked golf cart on it that says, don't go down this road. There's ways around a lot of change of behavior. And that's what I really think this city needs to look at.
That's why you guys are here. So
Right.
I will welcome those new, simple, easy to.
Yeah, there's nothing easy.
Anyway, all right, guys. Well, thanks for your service, and to be continued. Good.
Yes.